Oh, hello there. Nice of you to pop in. So I've had this drawing I've been working on since probably like 2022, and I just recently picked it up again because the only thing I'm good at is procrastination. Having said that, I finished this in like 4 days. My recording tells me that I spent like about 12 hours on it altogether. So let's talk about it. Here's the original speed paint. The main thing holding me back on this was the background. I never got the colours right and I just couldn't figure them out. So, about 1,000 days later, according to Google, let's get back into it. There may be some flashing as this is a speed paint, so content warning for that. Another content warning, we're starting in Blender. For some reason, I decided to make my reference in The Sims, and that included making custom poses. Why did I want to do it like this? Good question, not sure. I think I just wanted to have a nice background to paint off of. Here's where we start painting over my screenshot. It's a nice, quick, easy way to get some colours down, and it makes it a whole lot less daunting. And when you're like me, who has a massive hurdle to start drawing anything, taking as many shortcuts as you need is necessary. And you can immediately notice the difference between this and my first attempt. There's a lot less blue. I was kind of picturing the stones as like grey, but even grey stones kind of turn out a little brown. And the brown and the blue just look so nice together. I also removed the fairy lights. I don't know why I originally put fairy lights in a Victorian market. They did look good and I was sad to see them go, but I don't have an excuse, they're just gone. Sorry. I don't know how much of this to cut out because it's such a long speed paint, but I did cut out most of me making the outlines, the colour inside of, because nobody wants to see that. But what's a part that you would like to see a little less of? The early sketch, the sketching the clothing. I can't guarantee I'll read the comments because I usually don't read comments. Not that I'm scared of them, I just get really bad secondhand embarrassment, and sometimes people comment really stupid stuff and it makes me cringe really hard. I'm also not too worried about the details that are like not on the main focuses, or still main focuses, but not like. Honestly, I just need to focus on having less details overall, because then I just stress out over them and nobody's gonna see how you smoothly rendered it in. And sometimes I find I like my rough sketches better, so. I know it's like a joke, but drawing people holding phones is really hard. And to those people, I'd like to suggest, have you ever drawn a person holding a mouse? Like, holding a mouse like a hamburger? Where am I supposed to find reference for that? How do hands look holding a mouse? I can find references of people holding phones, that's easy. Where am I supposed to find a reference of someone holding a mouse? You can see me zooming in and out a lot because I was struggling. This is a really long speed paint and I'm not sure what I'm supposed to talk about. I just made myself some nice egg ramen. My secret recipe. It's just ramen and egg. It's really good. I walked past the clothing line and there was a radish pinned to the clothing line. That's interesting. But you haven't seen a radish pinned to a clothing line. Think about that for a while. Sit on it. A radish on a clothing line. Here you can see me struggling with the anatomy, because I don't think there's ever going to be a time where I don't struggle with anatomy. Sure, I could study. Oh, this is interesting. I was laying out my colours and I was trying to figure out which of these two middle colours was the darkest. I can't tell which is the darkest. It's worse than that damn dress. By the way, the program I'm using is Rebel7, my lovely wife. We have been working together for many years now, like 3 or 4. And it has a hotkey. If you press G, everything goes black and white so you can easily check your values. Here I'm just laying down my flat colours and getting the basic idea for what I'm working with before I can render people. Hey, what's can we get some hype in the chat for real-time commentary? My voice sounds very awful, I think. I don't know why. I can't talk. And I'm going to rant about my process. I'm thinking of making this background here a little cooler or darker just to highlight some more. Ignore how often I zoom in. I'm very bad at that. I'm struggling trying to find my layers. I think this one's it. And this here is the values we're going for. The values. English. So we're gonna have to brighten them up a lot. And we're also probably gonna have to have some contrast so they stand out a bit. We'll start with the light because I always start with shadows and then I regret it. So we need like really bright for our highlights. Because this is like right in the sun. And this is the top, so I'll also add a bit of a saturated colour where the highlight ends, just to make it look nice. Some of that subsurface scattering drip. I want the hair to be really saturated, so it like stands out and almost sort of glowy. Yeah, that's the word, glowy. I should zoom out more. It's a bad habit of mine to stay so zoomed in. Why does this look so dark here? Is that colour theory or do I just have a bad layer? Oh, I wasn't selecting the colour I wanted. Smart. Okay, this is looking good already. I was surprised by how easy this was. I didn't struggle that much. Maybe a little more here in the wrinkles. We don't want to get it under here because that's sort of like the underarm that's out of the way. I also need to incorporate some blue because there's a lot of blue here because there's a blue sky, probably, presumably. And I want this to be a sort of shiny texture, so I'm adding a lot of highlights. I think I'm going to add a lot of blue here, which, I mean, I don't know how well that's going to work because it's already blue, so... These strands here could do with a lot of light because they're really thin. And I think I'm going to make my highlights a little darker for further down. So the top is directly in the sunlight and then the rest is all darker. Maybe that's where I can put my blues. Yeah, I think the background behind them is going to have to be a bit darker and cooler. Probably fix it later. It's just a rough blocking out. Need to be careful with adding the brighter colours because I don't want this shirt to look dirty. Yeah, I think I need to stop trying with the lights. I think it's shadow time. Because these are closer to the top, we'll do the warm shadows and then have like full where it's folding over itself. Do I sound like I'm trying too hard to be smart? I think this is too dark now. We need to add some more white. Not looking bad. It's just looking in progress. Yeah, that's a bit of a problem. The hue is for the subsurface that is all darker. I need to make that lighter. I want the colour, but I don't want like to look like it's a deep line. That's a little better. I think I'll make it a little warmer towards the front. Where the light, I assume the light's coming from this way. And then I'll make it a little cooler towards the back. I'll do some warmer colours up here and then the cooler ones down here. That looks nice. I love the metal details and I paid extra to get Rebel Pro just for them. But they just don't fit. I think they're more like late stage stuff. I need to add last in small amounts. Which means I have to draw all the gold myself. That's okay, I like drawing gold. There's a lot of colours to it. Oh, this is a good spot to have the sky reflect. Yeah. That's the good stuff. I think some nice contrast would be good. You need to add as much contrast as possible because they're the main focus. Like, if I just did a black line here, that's where your attention's going to go. I'm also scared of contrast, which is the problem. I feel like this doesn't need that much contrast because it's kind of see-through. Just looks good. That would look really good if it wasn't for the background. It's basically the same value. Value? We can't be doing this again. This shirt's too dark. Wearing white is hard. I think we're gonna have to go for the pure eye-blinding white. It just looks gross. Maybe rendering the skin will make me feel better. Love me some juicy skin. Like, there shouldn't be that much shadow on the face, just what's necessary. I'm picturing this as like bounce light from the path, bouncing back up, as bounce light does. I guess this part should probably be darker because it's lower down. Rough. That's all I'm doing. Enjoy your regularly scheduled programming. After a fine word from today's sponsor.
The cream contains ingredients. You like cream. We all like cream. I cream. You cream. We all cream. The cream.
Cream, am I right? Anyway, back to the video. Hey, we're back. And as you can see, our colours are looking fresh and juicy. I think my biggest tip for colouring is have as much variation in the warms and cools as you can, purposefully. It gives it such a nice look and gives you so much variation. And don't be afraid to put some greys in there too. I'd love to make a full video on colouring. It's very fun. Here you can see me trying fruitlessly to put poor Antonio in the background, but I, alas, cut him, and I'm very sad about it, because I think it made its scene look so much more alive. I had to cut most of the background figures. I even forgot to put the cat on the counter. It's a shame. It doesn't look like the bustling market I'd pictured in my head. That's okay, there's a lot of faults here. Here I am just adjusting the lights, those juicy final touches. Oh, hey, that's the finished result. Isn't it neat? I think it's so much nicer than the original attempt. It's not perfect. There's some parts I definitely got lazy on, but it's finished. That's not something many of my older pieces can say. And if my past self saw it, I'm sure I'd be pretty happy. I'm very happy with how the colours turned out. And that's about it. Thanks for tuning in, lads. I'll get back to you soon. Or maybe I won't.